I used to be a nurse in general practice. And then I became an acupuncturist while I was still working as a nurse. And over the years, I had never heard of such thing as eye acupuncture. So I'm assuming you haven't either. I qualified in acupuncture in 2006. And this particular type of acupuncture, there are no needles that go into the eyes. So I've done lots of different training with Julian Scott, and I know he does use needles in the eyes. I've trained with Andy Rosenfarb, and I've trained more recently with a guy called John Bowl, who lives in Denmark. He's Danish, and he is now 80 years of age. So he has 50 years of documented experience treating people with chronic degenerative eye conditions. And those are conditions or illnesses or diseases, whatever you want to call it, that affect the eye, where the eyesight gets worse and worse over time. And there is either only a small amount that Western medicine can do, or there is nothing that Western medicine can do for these people, or for people like you, or people like me. So I was diagnosed 25 years ago with a degenerative eye condition. And I did have Western treatment. I was very lucky there was something there. However, the problem with some of the treatments is that they also cause eyesight loss. Whilst they preserve your vision overall, and it certainly saved my eyesight, and it meant that I could live as normal as possible a life, although it did impact my life and some of the choices that I made in my life. So there's over 10,000 eye diseases documented, and mostly the diseases that we've been more familiar with hearing are things like glaucoma, things like wet or dry macular degeneration, eye diseases called retinitis pigmentosa, and there's 10,000 of these, and I am not an eye doctor, which is an ophthalmologist, and I'm also not an optometrist, but I'm a person that does acupuncture for eye conditions. There's lots of research to show that this treatment is successful, and the success rate is an improvement in vision. I'm not saying that it's an 81% improvement in vision, but an improvement in vision that affects quality of life. And this is where it counts, because we want to improve our quality of life, to have more choices in our life, and to be able to live our lives where we have freedom of choices. So what does it involve if you decided that you would like to try this treatment? So the initial treatment is for 2 weeks. You come into me and we do a treatment for 30 minutes initially, and then there's a break of an hour, and you can either stay or you can go out. There's lots of places you can have a walk around here, or you can go across the road and have a coffee, and then come back and have your second treatment, which is half an hour. You can also bring somebody with you if you wish. That isn't a problem. It's a daily treatment for these 2 weeks. If you are somebody that's working, working a 9-to-5 job, or you don't have any flexibility in your work, it will necessitate you taking at least probably an hour off your day, because I can't work really, really late in the evenings. It just doesn't work for me and for my lifestyle. As much as I'd love to clone myself and work morning, afternoon, evening, and even during the night, I cannot do that. So how many needles? Only 4 to 6 needles. These needles, none of them are placed in the eye. The needles are placed one in each hand and one in each foot. And then for some people, it's just the eyebrow area. So never anywhere, never into the eyeball or into the bone or anything like that around your eye. So this cannot make your eyesight any worse. Yes, I am going to be using a laser. I've decided to get one of those because there are people who are needle phobic. And just the thought of even having needles terrifies some people. And I think it is awful if there is an option out there for you, and that the only thing that's stopping you having it is that you have to have needles. So I am currently in the process of getting a laser. Okay, I'm just going to refer to my notes here. So the treatments are Monday to Friday, and then the weekend off, and then you come back for the following Monday to Friday. How are you going to feel? So sometimes people are very tired. Sometimes people are very energized. Some days people can be emotional because it is an emotional thing to have done. So you've been told effectively you're going to lose your eyesight and that there's nothing that can be done for you. So when you come for treatment like this, there's a lot of hope that goes into this. And no matter how much you speak to yourself, you know, this may work, this may not work for me, there's still that hope there. So it does play around with your emotions a little bit. It's all very manageable. Plus, I've been there. So I'm very open about this, very happy to talk to people. And whilst, you know, I'm not going to be holding your hand every day, I very much look after anybody that comes into my clinic, because what's really important to me is that you walk out that door feeling better than when you walked in. And I now sound like a contestant out of Miss America or Miss Ireland or Miss whatever, but I do like to look after people. So to me, it's very, very important. So an option for people, I guess, who are traveling, who may have to stay overnight, is that you can do it over a longer period of time. You could do it over 5 weeks, and then we do 2 treatments each day. But you need to initially, for the initial treatment, you need to have 20 sessions of acupuncture. The lasering does take longer. That's a disadvantage of the lasering for people. So it can be integrated with anything from a Western medicine perspective. So if you're having lasering, it's not going to interfere with that, because that lasering will be into the back of your eye. If you're having injections, nothing I do is going to interfere with that. If you're having eye drops, nothing I do will interfere with that. The acupuncture cannot make your eyesight worse. It can improve it, or nothing happens. And they are the only 2 things that the acupuncture can do. So there are absolutely no negative side effects. And there is no single other treatment. And there's no, certainly, if you're going to be ingesting something and taking any medication of any kind, there's always going to be a side effect with taking that. And obviously, you know, I'm not saying don't take medication. All I'm saying is that with acupuncture, you don't have to worry about that. So you do need to go and have an eye test before you have this done, and that can just be looking at the Snellen chart, which is either letters or numbers or shapes. And you'll have that done with your optician or optometrist, whatever you prefer to call the person, or by their first name, or your ophthalmologist. And obviously, if somebody looks in the back of your eye, like an eye doctor, an ophthalmologist, with a slit lamp, or you have regular scans done, it's really good to have that done first and then come and see me, so you have something to compare it afterwards. For me, I didn't need to, because I could see the difference in my eyesight. So I didn't need to actually go and have those tests done. I didn't need somebody else to tell me, you can read a regular size font now, where you needed to have a massive size font on any electronic device that I read. So it was incredible, the results from that perspective for me that I got. And acupuncture is covered by health insurance, regardless of what people have. Because of confidentiality, you only put acupuncture on a receipt when you come to see me anyway, and that's what you will submit to your health insurance provider if you have health insurance. Okay. Now, does it work for everyone? So this is really, really important, that you know that it doesn't work for everybody. About 15 to 20% of people it doesn't work for. And so if it doesn't work for you, obviously that is something that you know, that would be quite upsetting. It's quite an emotional thing to happen. Most people, so people don't. I'm going to show you statistics that John Bowl has in his clinic. Andy Rosenfarb quotes the same statistics. Any of the people that train with them quote the same statistics in their clinics for the people that they're working with. So we know that this works. How much you get, so whether it's 10% or 50% or 100%, none of us can tell until you have the actual treatment. And what does success mean? It really means an improvement in quality of your life. It means that you can be more independent. It means that you can do things without needing somebody else to help you with them, or to be accompanied somewhere, or it just frees up your lifestyle, and it gives you more choices in your life. It can give you so much when it works for you. And for some people, it's quite dramatic, and for other people, it's helpful. So for me, it wasn't Well, in some aspects, it was dramatic in terms of the reading. In terms of my distance vision, I got 10% in one eye and 15% in my other eye. And if you have normal vision, you kind of think, that's not really that much. However, if you're somebody whose vision is compromised, it makes a huge difference. So I won't talk anymore about that, but I'm happy to talk to people about that if you want to give me a call. So moving quickly on, because these are just the stats from John Bowles' clinic, and this is 4 of his clinics over the space of 3 years, and they treated 750 people who were losing their eyesight effectively because of a disease that they were diagnosed with. And this is the success rate of people who got a positive result: 81% for glaucoma, retinitis pigmentosa, 81%, diabetic retinopathy, 79%. It's actually really, really good. And the earlier, the better, obviously, to treat any of these diseases. And other eye diseases, 81%. The reason I talk about 85% is because when I did the course with John Bull clinically, since they have done this research, their statistics, they have an improvement in the statistics. So now it's 85% of people that benefit from this. So what do you need to know if you're a healthcare provider, or you're somebody who knows that somebody's got problems with their eyes, but they don't really, you kind of suspect it, but they're not in denial, but not ready to talk about it yet. And often people don't disclose that they have visual loss because they're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid that people will judge them. They're afraid of losing their independence. There is an awful lot of fear when you've been diagnosed with a disease that says that you are going to lose your eyesight. So I fully appreciate and understand that. And people go through a process and talk to many experts about how to deal with this. People also fear, what if it does work for them? Because that means that, if you're somebody that has a significant person in your life that helps you on a daily basis, or I don't need these now, I need them for reading, then, what if you don't need them so much anymore? And how does that impact the relationship? And I'm sure everybody will be really, really delighted because, if you can get some of your independence back, that's just, who wouldn't be delighted for you to have that? But it does have implications in your life, and people do think about that. So this isn't for everyone, and I'm not trying to force everybody to come and have this treatment, but if it is something that you would like to try because you, I guess, realize that it could make a big difference to your life. And what have you got to lose? That was my attitude. I felt, okay, it might not work for me because mine, I guess, was historical, but there was nothing that could be done for me. I was told there is nothing new. Every time I went into my ophthalmologist, it drove him mad, saying, what can this do for me? Is there any new research out there? Are there any new treatments out there? Is there anything from a holistic point of view, which I'm sure on the inside he was rolling his eyes to heaven, because, he's a doctor. He's not the same type of practitioner that I am. However, I have a science background because I have a nursing background. So I have a foot in both fields, and my understanding of acupuncture is much greater than his understanding of medicine, although he was and is a genius. Just need to say that. So my experience of this is that I was fine. For me, it wasn't as emotional as some of the other people that were at the clinic. There was somebody there who didn't get a great result, and it was very upsetting for her. For me, I didn't know that I got any result at all until treatment number 16. And that was quite remarkable and surprising. And I can tell you that story if you come and see me, how I realized. And because even on a daily basis, for people who have problems with their eyesight, your sight can change on a daily basis. And some days you have good eye days and other days you don't have such great eye days. And it's impossible to understand that if you haven't experienced it. But I have, so I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what else do I need to tell you? So this is how the acupuncture works, and I'm not going to go into this because it will make this a really, really long video. However, if you're a healthcare professional, you will understand all of this. And for those of you who aren't, I'm happy to talk to you about any of this when you come to see me. So Awakened dormant photoreceptor cells, I will briefly talk about that actually. So we used to think that the nerve cells at the back of our eye that we need to see with to send the messages to our brain, which is what interprets what we see, Once they were dead, they were dead. But now we know that some of these cells are dormant and that we can stimulate them and wake some of them up. And the reason why we can't tell you how much of your eyesight you might regain or how much is possible is because we don't know which of these are dormant and which of them are dead. But there are an awful lot of scans that have been done now just to show it's how you can map the difference and how you can see the changes that have been made. And this is how they've done the research. It helps control inflammation and oxidative stress. I also work with people around nutrition because there's an awful lot that you can do for your health with using nutrition and lifestyle. And it's really, really important that we make changes in these areas as well, because most people that come to see me, particularly as we get older, we will have other health issues going on in our body. And there's so much that we can do for ourselves. And often people just need a little bit of knowledge and education around this. And that's what I do as part of this treatment. Helps control inflammation, oxidative stress. So all disease starts with inflammation. Oxidative stress is effectively aging, or I guess like a rusting of a bicycle, an old bicycle. It's like our body rusting up, which sadly happens as we get older. But there's a lot of things that we can do to slow down that process or to protect and maintain as much of the healthy cells in our body as we can. Increases local stem cell activity for repair and regeneration. I'm not going to go into that. Organizes neurocoherence, also not that. Promotes parasympathetic response. Briefly, I'm going to talk about this. So our lifestyles are very much, nowadays our modern lifestyle involves our sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. All the time you're out there and you're hustling and you're working and you're busy and there's stress involved in that. And you've got family life and you've got other responsibilities. And then you look at the news and it's just like an awful lot of stuff coming at you. And it's really important in order to balance that we have things like, that you have friends, that you have some kind of a hobby, things that you love to do, people you love to be around that make you laugh, that you can just release some of that stress. But there are also things that you can do to actively relax that make a difference to your nervous system. The parasympathetic part of your nervous system is when you drop your shoulders down and your body just feels nice and relaxed. And this is something that acupuncture does absolutely beautifully, no matter what you come for. So stimulates neuroplasticity. And sorry, just to briefly mention as well, stress has a huge impact on every aspect of our health, including our eyesight. So stimulates neuroplasticity, rewiring and firing of global visual system. The visual system is on the back of the head. And if you're a healthcare professional, you will know what neuroplasticity is. And acupuncture helps to maintain the ocular microbiome. So what is that? So we're familiar with hearing about the gut microbiome, that we need healthy bacteria lining our gut to protect us from getting things like ulcers or inflammation in our gut. And when you have a healthy gut, you've got healthy bacteria in there, and we live synergistically, or we work together with the bacteria that we have. We have bacteria on our skin, we have bacteria on our eyes. And it's really important that we have the right kind and not unhealthy bacteria, because this is damaging to us. So acupuncture helps to rebalance that. So that's it. A photo of me, the one on the right. I'm not sure if it's your right or left. The one without the hat was me the day I arrived in Denmark, exhausted, not able to read a single sign in any train station. And airports are a nightmare looking up at those screens. However, this is me when I was leaving, the day I was leaving on my way back, and I could read the signs in the train stations, and I could read what types of coffee it said on the coffee machine, because I stayed in the same hotel. And it was actually very emotional at the end of the treatment and coming back home and then actually seeing the differences that it had made. And this is why I want to help as many people as possible. I want to help people who want to try this, who want to see if this can make a difference for their eyesight. So please get in touch, and thank you very much for watching. Bye, guys.